This is Senua's Saga, Hellblade II. We're here on Xbox Series S. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is the second entry in the Hellblade series, following a woman that finds herself on a quest to figure out what exactly is going on in regards to these individuals that seemingly take individuals from her land and bring them overseas. This is really quite a technical achievement visually in terms of gaming. It is the best looking game I've ever seen, and here on the Series S, it's actually pretty great looking. Honestly. I mean, this is definitely a big visual step down from what I'm used to with the Xbox Series X, but it still retains the full scope style and aesthetic that we see on the Series X, but just on the Series S. It's actually really cool to see a game visually, kind of scaled down so effectively. So what are we getting here? It's a dynamic resolution scaling that is definitely sub 1080p at times, and here it actually looks a lot sharper than it usually is. At times it looks like it's like 720p, and they're definitely doing some trickery in there. At 30 FPS, there's HDR support with a host of HDR options in terms of adjusting the all kinds. There's actually like different subsections for HDR adjustments, and that's really cool in itself. So let's dive in and talk more about the experience. So she finds herself falling onto this beach. She's trying to get some of her wits around her, what exactly is going on, and then going across this landscape that is blanketed with monsters and creatures and people that are problems as well. A very desolate land, a broken land, where basically things have kind of gone array. Like there's a very splintered section of factions and individuals within this landmass, and you are not necessarily trying to rally them, but you are interacting with them, meeting them, and then seeing them kind of work with you as you continue to explore. And that was a really big, interesting element of this game compared to the first one, is kind of that aspect of basically the game itself allowing you to interact with others. Because the first Hellblade is very much you're basically by yourself on this journey. This one, there's a lot of times where she literally will interact and come across other individuals, and you do some cooperative type things in combat and stuff. It's really, really quite sweet. This is one of those games that I would recommend you do play with headphones on. The ASMR-like experience here is just absolutely incredible and really worth listening into, if that makes sense. Or a really good sound setup for your TV, or just really listening to it quite loud and kind of taking it in, because that is a big part of the game, is just kind of the audio aesthetic. It just adds so much to the game. I'm actually blown away that the Series S is handling this as well as it is. Seriously, like I was checking out some different parts of the game, and they looked a lot fuzzier than this segment. I think it's because of the rain and the fog really helps hide some of the visual effects of this. But yeah, this is actually a very, very... This might be like... Well, I mean, it's one of the best looking... Well, it's the best looking game I've ever played, but for the Series S, this is probably one of the more impressive offerings I've seen for the Series S in terms of something that is so kind of like actually hitting like a decent thing where it's closer to what the Series X is doing, if that makes sense. That's very, very interesting, honestly. I did not anticipate this for Series S here at all. So, oof, yeah, this really is quite an interesting continuation. I don't think you really need to have played the first game to kind of understand what's going on here, as this does feel like a standalone journey. Like, obviously, you know her better, you appreciate the character more, and you understand the problems she's going through a lot better if you have played the first game, but you are welcome to jump into the second game fine. It even gives you a little bit of a recap type thing when you get into it, so that's ultimately an easy way to get into this. And if you have played the first game, and you are wondering about certain elements of the gameplay, they actually have, in my opinion, improved a lot of stuff. Like, the puzzles is something that people talk a lot about, because in the first game there was a lot of, like, stopping what you're doing and kind of, like, arranging puzzles within the environment, and they have cleaned that up so nicely. You still kind of do that, but you don't do it very much. Like, it's very, very rare. And the interactions you do in that context are a lot quicker. The game itself has a much, much better level of pacing to it. It just flows really, really nicely, and I think they did a great job kind of improving upon the movement of the game. You go from like combat to adventures to more combat to talking to characters to interactions, and it really does flow well over what is a very cinematic and kind of large in scale but intimate in scope design game. It really, really is quite miraculous. Like at times, visually, I really did sort of find that like cutscene and gameplay are basically one and the same in this game. And I think that's even true here on the Series S, that it just sort of melds together in such an incredibly well done way. The game itself, very visceral, very intense, very emotionally driven. The development of the character as she attempts to survive and deal with all the trials and everything that comes across her path as she goes on this remarkable continued journey. It really is interesting. Now, I did kind of mention this too in my Series X video, that story-wise, I do wish there was a little bit more kind of buffering out of the character to some degree, but I also kind of look at it from the perspective of like the story is her perspective. Like you meet different characters and they kind of don't really dive into them a whole lot, and then the story kind of like it has a very satisfying but very interesting conclusion to it. And I think to some degree I was like, oh, I was kind of wanting that expanded upon, but I really kind of, the more I thought about it, the more I just sort of loved that it was really her journey, her adventure, and it was all her perspective the whole way through. And it made a lot more sense to me when I really kind of sat there for a bit and thought about it. But yeah, this game just really is quite a remarkable experience, a true technical showcase. I think it really presents the Series S in a very high quality sort of way that I really wasn't quite anticipating, if that makes sense. Like, I actually am so blown away by the quality that we're getting here on the Series S version of this game. Like, all the details and stuff, it's a lot blurrier, but like all the details, I think of the character, the damage, the clothing, everything like that is presented here at full level and quality. And it just looks so well done. The fidelity and the showcase of this game on this platform is excellent. Seriously, like they just absolutely nailed this game. Like Ninja Theory really truly did deliver with this experience. It's been a long wait for the sequel, but I am very, very happy with the end results of this experience. And I think you will be too if you're a fan of the game and wanting to play the follow-up. Or if you're literally someone that's kind of coming in this new, having never played this game, I think you'll be absolutely blown away by the styling here. And don't worry, there's lots of different difficulty options too. The game itself deploys a dynamic difficulty setting, so you can change that if you like to make it easier and whatnot. But yeah, I did feel it was mostly kind of right. Like sometimes it can like sort of scale up and get really ridiculous. Like this is just literally kind of the opening of the game, so it's a little easier going. But some of the combat, especially as you get into some more mythical type things, gets just crazy. But there is this like visceral element to it as well, especially if you really turn up the volume of the TV. You just feel the clangs and the hits of the sword and the combat along the different areas as you get pushed around in these intense battle segments. It's really, really quite amazing. And just like this level of like desperation and chaos in these battles is so well done. I think they just absolutely nailed the presentation and the gameplay design, and it's just absolutely spectacular the whole way through. I think you will be completely blown away by this and what it has to offer. and it's just so well done. But we're gonna skip to a different segment here, bit to one of the more mystical, creepy areas of the game, because it should give you a little bit of a different presentation of the styling of what this experience has to offer. And also, again, trying to keep things, well, I guess I didn't mention this, I'm trying to be as spoiler free as possible so that you can come in here and have an absolutely fresh gameplay perspective and experience. It's just so intriguing and well done. And if you're new to this series, the element of the voices and everything you've been hearing really leads into her like psychosis and just the elements of like some supportive, some not supportive voices, and those narrative elements are so well crafted in this that you really, even though it is the perspective of this one character, you feel as though there's multiple characters and multiple perspectives being played along the way, and that in itself is really cool. If you finish the game, they'll give you some other little narrative choices that are really quite excellent. But this is a brutal, very unforgiving sort of world and style and narrative, and it's so effectively well presented that I was just kind of blown away by this game the whole way through. It's just incredible character performances, particularly from our lead. Senua's motion capture and acting and everything like that is so spectacular and so well done. Every twist, every turn along the way is really, really quite amazing. I think they've crafted basically a near masterpiece in terms of like the technical elements, the gameplay, the style of it. The surprises you'll see along the way will just sort of really blow and meld your mind as you go on this wild journey of survival with this character that is trying to become more confident, trying to be more focused, because she really went on quite a journey, and there was a number and a toll taken on her in the before the first game and during the first game, and then in the second game, she's really trying to push herself up to be able to handle these sort of situations and become somebody that is a little bit more heroic. And it's interesting seeing these like triumphs and these improvements for the character, and it's quite a crazy journey to go on as you really venture across a twisted world of surprises, and it's neat because they really do control the narrative, the flow of the game very, very well. And this mixture of puzzles and action and combat and stealth and everything like that come together in a way that feels so well paced that you can sit there and very easily just flow through this game in a in a sitting if you could. I mean, it's decently lengthy, but you potentially could, and it would feel really smooth and like one cohesive narrative. And then from there, you could also, it's very much split into chapters, and you kind of take it chapter after chapter after chapter. The whole thing flows together wonderfully, but it does have elements of like, oh, this is one portion, this is another portion, and you can feel when they begin. You can feel when they end. You have a feeling of how things are going to go. And it's really, really quite cool to do that sort of thing. We're just going to skip this. Oh, and there's a great photo mode, by the way. It's very, very cool to see how this all kind of works out and how everything comes together. It's truly a well set up game the whole way through. I think you will be completely blown away by it. I think you will find chaotic moments, exciting moments, and it's just a very, very great setup that does push the boundaries, even here on the Series S. Usually the Series S, it's a lot of like hit or miss for me in terms of like the quality of the games you get. I mean, it's a first party, so it should be really good, right? But it is still, it's like, what are you going to get on the Series S? Yes, it's going to be good. No, it's going to be bad for quality. It's hard to say, right? But I think this is one of those games, and I think the visual element and the way they do the gameplay kind of helps a lot too, and just the quality of the rocks and everything like that. But yeah, this is a very, very impressive offering for the Series S. I am really, really quite happy with how well this game actually has scaled to this console. And I think that in itself is very, very admirable. I was definitely not expecting this sort of thing. And I think you will be very, very pleased if you are a Series S fan to be able to enjoy this game in a way that is sort of, I want to say intended, because That's always the worry is you see these magnificent kind of games and you kind of go like, oh, is this gonna look good enough? Or is this gonna, kind of disappoint? But I think you really will be a fan of the offering here. And you might find the odd collectible too that tell you the stories of the world and the lore. But no, Hellblade 2, very, very well done. I think you will love this game. I think you'll be blown away by it. The story, the crafted elements of the world, the styling, the aesthetic, the technical details, they all come together in a very, very satisfying, exciting, epic kind of way. And I think you really, really will be pleased, surprised, and probably ultimately startled by just how well this game is put together and just the crazy surprises that await you on this journey for this character. And yeah, no, Series S really, really good, punching above its weight a little bit on this one, I would say for sure. I love what they were able to technically achieve for the Series S version of this game. Very well done, Ninja Theory.
How could you make them stop? What are they? It's too much. What are they? It's just too much. They're not human. They can't be. They're monsters.
A rite of blood and fire. You will never understand this power. Something is coming.
I don't want to go down there. You have to. She has no choice. There's no other path. But he will drown in the blood. Blood and bones and body. Blood and bones and body. I cannot stand it anymore. I can't. Shh, don't. What's that? What's that? No, listen. Sound. Screaming, the screaming. It's too loud. The bones, the sound of bones creaking, snapping. Close your eyes. Flesh. The sound is worse. The murder happening above your head. It's too much. I can't move. She can't move. Keep moving. She has to keep moving. Don't stop. The one whose voice cuts through the chaos. He is her next sign, the next step on her path. She will bathe in blood, her sword will sing, and she will free him. He will die trying.
She has us! She's fighting!